I ask you to open your minds and hearts to the possibility that within this seemingly simple phrase lies a profound truth about the nature of reality and our place within it. Let us begin by considering what we mean. When we say nothing bothers you, in our day-to-day lives, we are constantly bombarded by stimuli, events, and circumstances that we label as bothersome. Traffic jams, rude comments, financial worries, physical discomfort, the actions of others that don't align with our expectations. The list is endless, and our typical response is to react, to be bothered, to allow these external circumstances to dictate our internal state. But what if we could learn to act as if none of these things bothered us? What if we could cultivate a state of being where external circumstances no longer held sway over our inner peace? This is not about suppressing our emotions or denying our experience. Rather, it's about fundamentally shifting our relationship with the world around us. To understand this concept more deeply, let's consider the nature of our experience of the world. We tend to think of ourselves as separate entities distinct from the world around us. We see ourselves as the subject, experiencing an objective reality out there. But is this really the case? Consider, for a moment, the act of seeing. We think we are seeing objects in the world, but what we're really experiencing is a complex interaction between light, our eyes, and our brain. The image we perceive is not out there, but is constructed within our own consciousness. In a very real sense, we're not seeing the world. We are seeing our own mind. The same is true for all our sensory experiences, the sounds we hear, the sensations we feel, even our thoughts and emotions. All of these are occurring within our own consciousness. The world as we experience it is not separate from us. It is us. Now, you might be thinking, but Alan, surely there is an objective reality out there. Surely the world exists independently of our perception of it. And you'd be right in a sense. There is indeed a reality beyond our individual perception. Here's the crucial point. We never experience that reality directly. We only ever experience our own consciousness, our own. So, when we say learn to act as if nothing bothers you, we're not suggesting that you ignore or deny the external world. Rather, we're inviting you to recognize that your experience of being bothered is not caused by external events, but by your own mind's reaction to those events. This is a profound shift in perspective. It means that when you're stuck in traffic and feeling frustrated, the source of your frustration is not the traffic itself, but your mind's interpretation of and reaction to the situation. When someone says something rude to you and you feel hurt, the source of your pain is not their words, but your mind's interpretation of and reaction to those words. Now, this doesn't mean that you should never feel frustrated or hurt. Emotions are a natural part of the human experience. But by recognizing that these emotions arise from within us, not from external circumstances, we gain a degree. We're no longer at the mercy of the world around us. But let's go deeper. What does it really mean to act as if nothing bothers you? It doesn't mean becoming an emotionless robot or pretending that you don't have feelings. Instead, it means developing a certain quality of presence, a way of being in the world that is fundamentally unshakable. Think of it like this. Imagine you're watching a movie. The movie might be filled with intense scenes, moments of danger, sadness, joy, excitement. As you watch, you might feel your heart race, tears come to your eyes, laughter bubble up within you. You're fully engaged with the story, feeling all these emotions. But at the same time, there's a part of you that knows it's just a movie. No matter how intense the scenes get, you remain seated in the theater, fundamentally unperturbed. In the same way, learning to act as if nothing bothers you means developing the capacity to fully engage with life while simultaneously maintaining an awareness of the deeper reality. It's about recognizing that you're fully participating in the drama of life, experiencing all its ups and downs. Is a part of you that remains untouched, like the still depths of the ocean beneath the turbulent waves on the surface. This state of being is not about detachment or indifference. It's not about not caring. On the contrary, it allows for a much deeper, more authentic engagement when we're no longer at the mercy of our reactions, when we're no longer constantly trying to avoid discomfort or chase after pleasure. We can be fully present with whatever arises. Think about it. How much of our lives do we spend trying to control our circumstances? We try to manipulate our environment, other people, even our own thoughts and feelings, all in an attempt to avoid being bothered. But what if we could let go of that need for control? What if we could meet each moment with openness and acceptance, regardless of whether we label it as good or bad? This is what it means to act as if nothing bothers you. It's not about becoming invulnerable or unfeeling. It's about developing a fundamental okayness with whatever arises. It's about recognizing that your true nature, and nature is like the sky, vast, open, and unaffected by the clouds that pass through it. But how do we cultivate this state of being? Not something that can be achieved through force of will or intellectual understanding alone. It requires a deep experiential realization of the nature of our own mind and our relationship to the world around us. One way to begin is through the practice of mindfulness or meditation, by learning to observe our own thoughts, emotions, and sensations without getting caught up in them. We start to realize that we are not our thoughts or emotions. We are the awareness in which these experiences arise. As we deepen this practice, we may begin to notice that there's a quality of awareness that remains constant, regardless of what we're experiencing. Whether we're feeling joy or sorrow, excitement or boom, there's a part of us that simply witnesses these experiences without being affected by them. This witnessing awareness is what we're talking about when we say act as if nothing bothers you. Let's be clear. This is not about trying to achieve some special state or experience. It's not about trying to feel a certain way all the time. It's about recognizing the nature of our own mind and our relationship to experience. Have you ever been completely engrossed in an activity? Perhaps playing music, creating art, or engaging in sports, where you lost all sense of self. In these moments of flow, there's no sense of being bothered because there's no sense of a separate self to be bothered. You're simply one with the activity. This state of flow is a glimpse of what it means to act as if nothing bothers you. It's not that you're suppressing or ignoring anything. It's that you're so fully engaged with what's happening that there's no room for the usual mental chatter that creates the sense of being bothered. Now, you might be thinking, but Alan, surely there are genuinely bothersome things in the world. What about injustice, cruelty, suffering? And you're absolutely right. There is immense suffering in our world, and it's natural and appropriate to feel moved by this. There's a crucial point. Acting as if nothing bothers you doesn't mean not caring about these things. In fact, it can allow for a much more effective and compassionate response to the suffering in the world. When we're caught up in our own reactivity, when we are constantly bothered by things, how effective are we really at addressing the world's problems? Our actions often come from a place of anger, fear, or frustration, which can lead to more conflict and suffering. But when we learn to act as if nothing bothers us, we can respond to the world's challenges from a place of clarity and compassion. We can engage with difficult situations without being overwhelmed by them. We can work towards positive change without being attached to specific outcomes. This is the true power of learning to act as if nothing bothers you. It's not about becoming passive or indifferent. It's about developing the capacity to engage fully with life while maintaining an inner stillness and clarity. Imagine being able to face any situation, whether it's a personal challenge, a global crisis, or just the everyday irritations of life, with a sense of fundamental okayness. Imagine being able to feel deeply, to care profoundly, without being thrown off balance by your emotions. This is what it means to act as if nothing bothers you. But let's delve even deeper into this concept. When we say act as if nothing bothers you, we're not just talking about a superficial behavioral change. We're talking about a fundamental shift in our understanding of reality and our place within. You see, the very notion of being bothered by something implies a division between self and other, between the one who is bothered and the thing that is bothering them. But is this division real, or is it simply a construct of our mind? Where exactly do you end? and the world begin. We tend to think of ourselves as bounded by our skin, as separate entities moving through a world of other separate entities. But is this really the case? Take a breath. Where does the air end and you begin? As you breathe in, the air becomes part of you. As you breathe out, you become part of the air. In fact, the very atoms that make up your body are in constant flux, constantly being exchanged with the environment around you. In a very real sense, you are not separate from the world. You are the world. This isn't just poetic language or Eastern mysticism. It's a scientific fact. The boundaries we perceive between ourselves and the world are constructs of our minds, useful for navigating day-to-day life, but not ultimately real. When we truly understand this, the idea of being bothered by something starts to lose its meaning. How can you be bothered by something if there's no separate you to be bothered? How can anything be a problem if everything is you? This is not to say that we should ignore problems or accept injustice, but it does suggest a radically different way of engaging with the challenges we face. Instead of seeing them as external threats or annoyances, we can recognize them as part of the total process of life, of which we are an integral part. When your stomach growls with hunger, do you get angry at it? Do you feel bothered by it? Probably not. You simply recognize it as a signal that your body needs food and you act accordingly. In the same way, when we learn to act as if nothing bothers us, we can start to see all of life's challenges as simply information, as signals guiding our actions rather than as threats or annoyances. This is not about becoming passive or indifferent. It's not about not caring. In fact, when we let go of our habitual reactions of being bothered, we open ourselves up to a much deeper, more authentic form of caring. Think about this. How much of our so-called caring is really just a form of attachment to our own ideas, our own comfort, our own sense of how things should be? How often do we claim to care about something or someone, when really we're just trying to control the situation to make ourselves feel better? True caring, true compassion, arises when you're able to be with things as they are, without needing them to be different. It's about recognizing the fundamental okayness of everything, even in the midst of apparent chaos or difficulty. This might sound paradoxical. How can we care about changing things if we accept them as they are? But consider this. Acceptance doesn't mean approval. It means acknowledging reality as it is, rather than wasting energy wishing it were different. And from this place of acceptance, we can take much more effective action. When we're not bothered by things, when we're not caught up in our own reactivity, we can see more clearly. We can respond to situations with wisdom and compassion, rather than from a place of fear or anger. Imagine being able to face any situation, whether it's a personal challenge, a global crisis, or just the everyday irritations of life, with a sense of fundamental okayness. Imagine being able to feel deeply, to care profoundly, without being thrown off balance by your emotions. This is what it means to act as if nothing bothers you. But how do we cultivate this state of being? It's not something that can be achieved overnight or through sheer force of will. It requires a consistent practice, a willingness to observe ourselves and challenge our habitual patterns of thinking and reacting. One powerful approach is the practice of mindfulness or meditation. By learning to observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without getting caught up in them, we start to realize that we are not our thoughts or emotions. We are the awareness in which these experiences arise. As we deepen this practice, we may begin to notice that there is a quality of awareness that remains constant, regardless of what we're experiencing, whether we're feeling joy or sorrow, excitement or boredom. There's a part of us that simply witnesses these experiences without being affected by them. This witnessing awareness is what we're talking about when we say act as if nothing bothers you. Another powerful practice is what we might call radical acceptance. This involves fully accepting each moment as it is without wishing it were different. This doesn't mean we don't take action to change things when necessary, but it does mean that we stop fighting against reality. Stop wasting energy wishing things were different than they are. Try next time you find yourself bothered by something, instead of trying to change the situation or push away your feelings. Simply accept them fully. Say to yourself, this is how it is right now. Notice what happens when you do this. You may find that the very act of acceptance begins to transform your experience. But let's go even deeper. What if the very idea of being bothered is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of reality? What if our usual way of perceiving the world as a collection of separate objects and events happening to a separate me is actually an illusion? Modern physics tells us that the world is not made up of separate, solid objects existing in empty space. Instead, it's a complex web of interconnected energy fields, constantly shifting and changing. The solid, separate world we perceive is a construct of our minds. It's a useful illusion that allows us to navigate our daily lives, but not ultimately real. When we truly understand this, the idea of being bothered by anything starts to seem absurd. How can you be bothered by something if there's no separate you to be bothered and no separate thing to bother you? This is not just abstract philosophy. It has profound implications for how we live our lives. When we recognize the fundamental interconnectedness of all things, we naturally start to act with more compassion, more wisdom, more in harmony with the totality of life. How much of our suffering comes from our sense of separation, from our belief that we are isolated entities struggling against a hostile world? But what if we're not separate at all? What if we're integral parts of a vast interconnected? When we act as if nothing bothers us, we are not denying our experiences or suppressing our emotions. We're recognizing a deeper truth about the nature of reality. We're aligning ourselves with the fundamental nature of the universe. Let's be clear. This is not about trying to achieve some special state or experience. It's not about trying to feel a certain way all the time. It's about recognizing the nature of our own mind and our relationship to experience. If you've ever been completely engrossed in an activity, perhaps playing music, creating art, or engaging in sports, where you lost all sense of self, in these moments of flow, there's no sense of being bothered because there's no sense of a separate self to be bothered. You're simply one with the activity. This state of flow is a glimpse of what it means to act as if nothing bothers you. It's not that you're suppressing or ignoring anything. It's that you're so fully engaged with what's happening that there's no room for the usual mental chatter that creates the sense of being bothered. Now, you might be thinking, but Alan, this all sounds well and good in theory, but how does it apply to real life? How can I act as if nothing bothers me when I'm stuck in traffic or dealing with a difficult coworker or facing a serious health issue? These are valid questions, and they bring us to a crucial point. Acting as if nothing bothers you doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending the challenges don't exist. It's not about putting on a fake smile and saying everything's fine when it's not. It's about changing your relationship with your experiences, your challenges, your life as a whole. Let's take the example of being stuck in traffic. The usual reaction might be frustration, impatience, maybe even anger. You might find yourself thinking, this is terrible, I'm going to be late. Why does this always happen to me? In this state, you're bothered, you're suffering, and you're likely making the experience worse for yourself and possibly for others around you. But what if you could act as if this situation doesn't bother you? This doesn't mean you have to enjoy being stuck in traffic. It doesn't mean you can't take action to avoid traffic in the future, if possible. But in this moment, can you accept the reality of the situation without adding the extra? Try this. The next time you're stuck in traffic, instead of fighting against the situation, see if you can fully accept it. Notice the sensation of sitting in your car, the sounds around you, the rhythm of your breath. Can you be present with the experience without wishing it were different? Can you use this time as an opportunity for mindfulness, for reflection, for simply being? You might find that when you stop fighting against the reality of the situation, when you let go of the need for things to be different than they are, a sense of ease and spaciousness naturally arises. You're no longer bothered because you're no longer creating the mental construct of being bothered. The same Principle applies to dealing with difficult people or situations. When someone says or does something that you find irritating or hurtful, can you observe your reaction without getting caught up in it? Can you recognize that your feeling of being bothered is not caused by their actions, but by your interpretation of and reaction to those actions? This doesn't mean you have to like or approve of their behavior. It doesn't mean you can't take action to address the situation if necessary, but can you do so from a place of clarity and equanimity, rather than from a place of reactivity and being bothered? When we learn to act as if nothing bothers us, we develop a kind of inner stability that allows us to navigate life's challenges with greater ease and effectiveness. We're no longer at the mercy of our circumstances or other people's actions. We're able to respond to situations with wisdom and compassion, rather than reacting from a place of being bothered. But what about more serious challenges, health issues, loss, major life changes? Surely it's not possible, even desirable, to act as if these things don't bother us. Again, it's crucial to understand that acting as if nothing bothers, it doesn't mean denying or suppressing your experiences. It doesn't mean you can't feel grief, fear, or pain. These are natural human experiences, and trying to avoid or suppress them often leads to more suffering in the long run. Instead, acting as if nothing bothers you means developing the capacity to be with these experiences fully, without adding the extra layer of mental suffering that comes from resistance, from wishing things were different than they are. When facing a serious health issue, for example, it's natural to feel fear, uncertainty, maybe even anger. But can you allow these feelings to be present without being consumed by them? Can you recognize that beneath these changing emotions there's a part of you that remains untouched, untroubled? This is not about putting on a brave face or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about recognizing that even in the midst of great challenges, there's a fundamental okayness that underlies all of our experiences. It's about realizing that our true nature is like the sky, vast open and unaffected by the clouds that pass through it. When we learn to act from this place of fundamental okayness, we're able to face life's challenges with greater resilience and clarity. We're able to take necessary action without being driven by fear or reactivity. We're able to be fully present with our experiences, whatever they may be, without getting lost in them. This way of being in the world is not something that can be achieved overnight. It's a practice, an ongoing process of learning and growth. It requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to observe ourselves honestly and challenge our habitual patterns of thinking and reacting. But the rewards of this practice are immense. As we learn to act as if nothing bothers us, we begin to experience a profound sense of freedom. We're no longer at the mercy of our circumstances or our own reactive patterns. We're able to engage with life more fully, more authentically, with greater joy. And imagine being able to face any situation, whether it's a minor annoyance or a major life challenge, with a sense of fundamental okayness. Imagine being able to feel deeply, to care profoundly, without being thrown off balance by your emotion. Imagine being able to act in the world with clarity, wisdom, and compassion, free from the distorting effects of being bothered. This is the potential that opens up when we learn to act as if nothing bothers us. It's not about becoming passive or indifferent. It's about becoming more fully alive, more fully present, more fully engaged with the richness and complexity of life. So I invite you, my friends, to embark on this journey of discovery. Begin to observe your reactions, your patterns of being bothered. See if you can create a little space between your experiences and your reactions to them. Practice accepting each moment as it is without wishing it were different. Cultivate that sense of fundamental okayness that underlies all of your experiences. As you do this, you may find that your whole relationship with life begins to shift. You may find yourself less caught up in petty annoyances, less thrown off balance by life's challenges. You may find yourself more able to act with wisdom and compassion, more able to enjoy the simple pleasures of being alive. Remember, this is not about achieving some perfect state where you never feel bothered by anything. It's about developing a new way of relating to your experiences, a new way of being in the world. It's about recognizing that beneath all the changing circumstances of your life, beneath all your thoughts and emotions, there's a vast, open awareness that remains untroubled, unbothered. This awareness is your true nature. It's always there, always available. As you learn to act from this place of awareness, you'll find that nothing can truly bother you, because the you that gets bothered is seen for what it is, a temporary construct of thought, not your true self. So, go forth, my friends, and practice acting as if nothing bothers you. Not as a form of denial or suppression, but as a way of aligning yourself with the deepest truth of your being. As you do this, you may find that life becomes less of a struggle and more of a dance, less of a problem to be solved and more of a mystery to be lived. And who knows? In learning to act as if nothing bothers you, you may discover a freedom, a joy, a peace that you never knew was possible. You may find that in letting go of being bothered, you open yourself up to the full richness and wonder of life itself. So I encourage you, my dear friends, to embark on this journey of self-discovery. Start small. The next time you find yourself bothered by something, whether it's a traffic jam, a rude comment, or a spilled cup of coffee, take a deep breath. See if you can observe your reaction without getting caught up in it. Can you act as if this doesn't bother you even for just a moment? But as you practice this, you may begin to notice something remarkable. You may find that the very act of not being bothered changes your experience of the situation. The traffic jam becomes an opportunity for mindfulness. The rude comment loses its power to hurt you. The spilled coffee becomes just another event in the flow of life. But remember, this is not about suppressing your emotions or denying your experiences. It's about changing your relationship with them. It's about recognizing that beneath all your changing thoughts and feelings, there's a part of you that remains untouched, unbothered. As you continue this practice, you may find that it extends beyond just minorances. You may find yourself able to face larger challenges with greater equanimity. You may find that you're able to engage more fully with life, take more risks, to love more deeply, because you're no longer constrained by the fear of being bothered. Imagine living your life from this place of fundamental okayness. Imagine being able to fully engage with the world, to feel deeply, to care profoundly, without being thrown off balance by every up and down. This is the potential that opens up when we learn to act as if nothing bothers us. Let me be clear. This is not about becoming some kind of emotionless robot. It's not about not caring. In fact, when we let go of our habitual reactions of being bothered, we open ourselves up to a much deeper, more authentic. How much of our so-called caring is really just a form of attachment to our own ideas, our own comfort, our own sense of how things should be? How often do we claim to care about something or someone, when really we're just trying to control the situation to make ourselves feel better? True caring, true compassion arises when we're able to be with things as they are, without needing them to be different. It's about recognizing the fundamental okayness of everything, even in the midst of apparent chaos or difficulty. As you learn to act as if nothing bothers you, you may find that your capacity for genuine compassion and effective action actually increases. You're no longer driven by your own reactivity, your own need to fix or change things. Instead, you're able to respond to situations with clarity and wisdom, guided by a deeper understanding of what's truly needed. This way of being in the world is not something that can be achieved overnight. It's a practice, a lifelong journey of learning and growth. There will be times when you forget, when you get caught up in being bothered. That's okay. The practice is not about achieving some perfect state of never being bothered. It's about continually returning to that place of fundamental okayness, even in the midst of life challenges. So I invite you, my friends, to embrace this practice. Learn to act as if nothing bothers you. Not as a form of denial or suppression, but as a way of aligning yourself with the deepest truth of your being. As you do this, you may find that life becomes less of a struggle and more of a dance, less of a problem to be solved and more of a mystery to be lived. And remember, in the grand cosmic dance of existence, in the vast expanse of space and time, what is there really to be bothered about? We are here now, alive in this miraculous universe. Can we not meet each moment, each experience with wonder and gratitude rather than being bothered? So go forth, my dear friends, and practice this art of unbotheredness. Act as if nothing bothers you, and see how it transforms your life. You may find that in letting go of being bothered, you open yourself up to the full richness and wonder of existence. And in this opening, in this alignment with the fundamental nature of reality, you may discover a freedom, a joy, a peace that you never knew was possible. You may find that life itself becomes a grand adventure, a beautiful play in which you are both the actor and the audience. So here's to acting as if nothing bothers you. Here's to living life fully, freely, with open hearts and open minds. Here's to embracing the cosmic dance of existence in all its beauty and complexity. May you find that place of unshakable peace within yourself. And may it guide you through all the ups and downs of this miraculous journey we call life.